I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. Today, I want to talk about getting to know our clients. And as we get to know our clients, helping them, help us understand their goals and objectives. As we go through this process, we need to make sure that we help our clients in the best way possible. And to do that, we need to know who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. If you start looking at this, we're really putting together a puzzle with our client. As you think about that puzzle and as you start to open that puzzle box, think about, last time you did a puzzle, 1,000 pieces, you open that box, there's just pieces laying there. Well, if you don't know what that picture should look like, that puzzle is going to be really hard to put together. So think about getting to know our client as looking at the picture on a box, and now we have to start putting the pieces together that match. And as we do that, we're really going to help our clients through a process, which means we have to have a process. And if our clients understand that this process is not one and done, that as we're going through this process, we're going to gather information. We need to know our client. We need to understand who they are, what their goals are. Once we understand what their goals and objectives are, then we can start looking at potential tools. Open up that toolbox. Look at what might fit. Then start putting a plan together. And as you build that plan and put it together, you're going to start marrying the tools with the objectives and goals of our clients. Now we can present that plan to our client. And a lot of times we have to present it, we have to review it, we have to make sure that plan fits. But the next big part is a crucial part. We actually have to implement the plan. I see a lot of people that go and see advisors that build a plan, say, here's what you should do, and it never gets done. I see this a lot in trust planning. People will go to the attorney and set up their revocable living trust, but never transfer assets into it. It's a nice piece of paper. It's a beautiful book usually, but it's not going to do what they wanted to do because they didn't finish the implementation. Then once you get the implementation done, now we have to review and revise. This is a lifetime planning, will. It's not one and done. Most things that we do with our clients are going to take time. They're going to have to be revised over time as our clients get older, as their kids grow, as they mature through their business into retirement. All of those things may adjust their plan. We may get lucky in that we don't have to make revisions, but we have to be ready to as that comes up. As you get to know your client, part of that, step in there is getting a plan in place that helps our clients understand where we're going to go, that roadmap. So if they know step one is gathering information, it's not just gathering information for the sake of gathering it, but it's gather the information so we can start understanding what our clients need. So it's one where I use a legacy questionnaire. It's long, and I preface that with the client and let them know, hey, this is going to take some time to go through, but I want to take time with them and them doing their own homework to give us a clear picture of who they are. Now, as you start gathering that information, and as I start looking at this, I'm not just asking questions for the sake of asking questions. I'm also looking at that so I can understand what the opportunities with our clients might be. So if I'm looking at, gathering their, just names and marriage situation, where they're at in relationships, do they have kids? All of this, if you think about the opportunity, well, if I'm planning for spouses or significant others, am I planning for one or am I planning for both? And I've been in situations where we only had a client, our client was one spouse and one spouse only. They kept everything separate, so we have to keep everything separate. If I'm looking at that as a planning opportunity from a life insurance standpoint, am I doing a survivorship policy or am I doing single life policies or a combination? There again, just start thinking of what that can do. If they have children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, whatever they're at, think about the opportunities. Number one, are we trying to create a legacy? Are they are they building something that's multi-generational? I find a lot of people as they, get married, they're young, they have a hard time seeing multi-generational planning. They don't even have kids, so they're not even, ready to think about the next generation versus multi-generations. But start looking at that as that you see how the family structure is. Are we building for college or legacy? All of that future planning, at least we can put the seeds in place that that might be part of their future planning. If I'm looking at their opportunity, their current advisors, number one, do they have other advisors? If they do, I want to reach out to them. I want to start building that relationship. And if they have holes in there, they don't have a CPA that they're working with, let's help them find a good CPA. Let's help them find a good attorney. All of these, all of these pieces need to be filled in. They have to have all of these advisors because we can't do everything for them, but we want to make sure we're working jointly and cohesively with their other advisors or fill in the gaps. If you start looking at, their cash flow, when I look at cash flow, number one, do the clients understand their cash flow? Do they understand what their expenses are? This is a great way to help them find money for the planning. If we can help them reduce expenses, redirect income, this is where if we understand their cash flow, we can start helping them build for a better future by redirecting it into the right places. Help them get their debt paid off, refocus that, debt after it's paid off into something that's building assets. So it's a good time, place to understand their cash flow so that we can do more planning. As you look at their assets and liabilities, their balance sheet, now we can start looking at, are there underperforming assets here? Need to be repositioned? Do they have a money market account that's just sitting there getting, costing them tax money every year, but it's a what if account that may or may not be used. Maybe we reposition that into a cash value life insurance policy. Do they have asset protection? Are these assets at risk? If they've got $1 million in cash and they're in a situation where they could be sued, probably not the best thing to do. But this is going to help us, down this path with them and start opening up those questions so we can ask them, is this something that, that they would care to explore, or do they understand the benefits? This is where we really start going into the estate tax and estate planning and helping them understand what their tax exposure may be on those assets. When you start looking at current, insurance coverages, when's the last time it was reviewed? And as we look at the review, can we improve their coverage? Do they need to increase their coverage? Do they have long-term care coverage? Either a true long-term care policy, a hybrid policy, or long-term care or chronic illness riders on their life insurance. As we can see what insurance they have in place, we can see, do they have a goal? Now, this is an area that if they've got it covered, pat them on the back, tell them, hey, great job, let's review it next year. And so they understand we want to do that policy review on a regular basis. If you look at their retirement savings, have they done enough? And a lot of times, this is an area that most clients, aren't prepared for. Do they have, do they have enough in their retirement accounts to live on after tax? Can we do some things with tax-free retirement? Do they need to reposition? Do they have life insurance to cover the surviving spouse after the death of the first spouse? All of those issues come up if we understand where they're currently situated. If I look at their business structure, now we get into the business planning. If this client has, corporations and LLCs and all of this related to their business, is it structured properly? And does it fit into their estate planning? A lot of times I'll see clients that have done a good job on their estate planning, but they forgot to account for their business. Or they've done a lot of business planning and forgot how that would insert into their estate. So it's one of those, this can be very cohesive, especially if the retirement or the business is a big part of their retirement. So as you go through, the big part of this is understand your client, understand the opportunities that they could present here. But part of this is going through the planning process to help uncover what those needs and goals are. So I appreciate everybody getting on. If you have questions, feel free to reach out and we'll talk again next week. Thank you.